Hey everybody, good evening. Welcome. Hope everybody's doing well. Getting set up for your detox. Grab a block, blanket, pillow, anything for a little extra padding, and something to drink. Yeah, so I've got my, hi Ari, good evening. I've got my long sleeves on for mosquitoes. Got my pants on. And then I've got my little citronella stick burning over here. So last night was the complete opposite of the night before, which was interesting. I think with as hot as it got this weekend, but it's all good. It's practice either way. Brian Boone, good evening. So I'm just curious on your side. I know you guys all know to what time we're having classes, but is there anything that notifies you if you're subscribed to the channel when a new video goes live? I'm just curious. I never obviously get to see it from your side of things. And Derek, good evening. Morning hiatus, PG. Welcome back. Yes, on YouTube. Thanks, Derek. Oh, okay, cool. Roz, good evening. Welcome from New York. It's so fascinating right now if you're paying attention to any of the, kind of uh, states and countries and things that are going back and starting to ease some of the stay-at-home orders to see how everywhere is doing it a little bit differently and to be expected, I suppose. But it's interesting to see how all of that is playing out. Oh, cool, Ari. Thank you. I don't know if I was speaking to this morning or if it was in yesterday's practice in the evening. But basically, this idea that we don't need to control the information that is coming to us, nor do we need to control what we want to let in, what we don't want to let in, what we want to let go, what we don't want to let go. We just want things to move through us, which is what our practicing is opening up the opportunity for. If things move at us, then they hit us, and then we retain them, and we hold on to them. See, the things that we need to retain, and what our mind needs to retain, its memories, intelligence, all of that is going to play itself out. But when it comes to all of the actions and everything that is going on in your community, in your environment, and whatever that may mean, we just want to let all of that be a part of the practice. So not controlling to exclude or to invite and to say, I like this, I don't like that. Let everything be a part of it, at least for the hour that we're on the mat together. All right, so we're just at the 7:30 mark. If you're following along with music on the live stream, I'm going to start that now. And then you can come along if you're going to stream with Spotify and go ahead and start your playlist now, please. get our volume set. I think most of you probably got it all dialed in. It's become, hopefully, I don't want this to be any additional stress added into your day. So maybe in the first week or so is working out some of the kinks and you've noticed things smoothing out a bit more. And then you can take that, an example of technology or the YouTube video or the playlist, and then you can start to apply that. So, in the beginning, and there was a lot of these moments in where we're just processing, hey, what's going on. Well, we've been going for, a good amount of time now where there's the equal opportunity to process and to reflect simultaneously. You have something substantial now and to reflect upon, and whether it's the evolution and change in a part of your body, in several parts of your body, you may start to notice differences in the way you feel emotionally and how you're processing your emotions. Your perspective, it may have shifted. Your whole being, it may seem a little bit different at this point. So simultaneously continue to process because the moments are still happening. That energy is still flowing and we want it to flow through us. But then also reflect. It doesn't mean you're reflecting good, you're reflecting bad. Reflection is reflection, and it's a great teaching tool. And so allow yourself and to reflect on your journey up to this point, especially if you've never done this before. And you saw somebody post today, 40 days in a row. Like many of you, 40 days, 41 days, 42 days. Putting a practice as part of your life experience. We used to tag that as a challenge, but it's not a challenge anymore. There's a lot of great places in the world and cultures where in practice is unquestionably part of every single day. And time spent within, we'll just call it that. Here I think we appreciate being on the mat, whether it's a flow or a detox, but time spent within. That's all that matters. Okay, let's go ahead and take our way onto the back. Lie down in Shavasana, please. And set yourself up. If you want anything underneath your head, you're welcome to do that. Hey Reese, good evening. And then we're going to start with the soles of the feet together and let your knees fall apart. And so you're in butterfly pose. And your head can be on the mat. Again, you can have a pillow underneath your neck. And let's let the hands rest and kind of on the top of the thighs towards the inner thighs. And so your elbows can touch the ground. And you can flatten across the upper back. And begin to relax in this shape. And we continue to process and the energy flowing through us, and at the same time begin to reflect. And reflect on your experience up to this point, however your mind defines it, and it's going to create certain parameters, and so that you can define it and so that you can understand whatever it is. It may feel nice to close your eyes down, And go ahead and drop yourself into your practice tonight with your eyes closed. And because we're talking about reflection tonight, if you've never done the entire detox practice and with your eyes closed, I would invite you to try that and fall into that as you feel comfortable doing so. And notice how we've removed the word challenge in relationship into observing our breath or connecting to our breath, into the meditation and the practice of yoga asana. We've disjoined or disassociated in this idea of it being a challenge in any way. We're just showing up, opening ourselves willingly into the process of change and the evolution through the human body and the realization within our soul, our true self. No big deal. Just connecting to our soul and our true self. And as you reflect, notice how, before all of this, you would say, stay home for a week? No way, I can't stay home for a week. And before you know it, you've been home for 6 weeks, 5 weeks, a month. So it's never a question of whether or not you can do it. You could do anything. And so let this wild ride and adventure and show your mind that you can truly do anything. And slide the hands to your outer thighs and slowly start to bring your knees back up towards each other. You should feel a little achiness in your hips and hip creases. We really went into an extension and opening and the release of our hip flexors this morning. And feel the softness in the soles of your feet. And without moving your feet, and you can just lightly windshield wiper your knees back and forth, side to side. You can really develop this concept is to keep your hip flexors soft. If you notice them gripping, all you have to do is put your mind's eye and your inner awareness on that part of your body. And let the calm breath and the natural breath hover around that spot in your body. And with your mind's eye, and watch the tightness or the grip slowly release until it's actually gone. And let your knees come back to center. If you have something under your head, and we're going to slide that out. And so your head comes all the way down onto your... And go ahead and draw your right knee towards your chest. Hands go behind your right leg on your hamstring. And cross your thumbs and so you lock in the grip. And let your left leg go onto the mat. And so we want the left leg straight and heavy to the mat first. And then you can extend through your right knee. And let your right foot go up to the sky. And don't worry about forcing it. Just make sure you got your grip locked in, knuckles through knuckles. And relax the jaw, a little space between your lips. And have a beautiful adventure tonight, everybody. The adventure within the adventure. When you're doing yoga classes. And don't be surprised if you're feeling your right thigh. And keep the shoulders heavy and the jaw and the breath and relaxed. And about 10 more breaths in this right leg. And if you're feeling the hands and the wrists and the arms and the shoulder all good, stay patient. And begin to bend your right leg, bring your heel back down. And go as slow as you can. And let your grip soften. And release your right leg onto the mat. And feel your right leg. It should feel dramatically different than your left leg right now. Especially once it touches the ground. It almost feels like you're on a boat and it's leaning to the right. If you've never been sailing before, with your mind set up in the yoga life and philosophy, it's a very yogic activity. And to go sailing, I would highly encourage it. And perhaps you can start to see yoga in a lot of things that are happening. And that can be part of your practice as you continue to process and reflect at the same time. And let's keep your right leg heavy like a fallen tree. And slowly draw your left knee in towards you. And take your fingers, interlace them behind. Okay, so they're on the back of the hamstring. Cross your thumbs. And if your hamstrings are really tight, you could stay right here. And without forcing it, then you're also welcome and to lift your left foot up towards the sky. And so in flow, let's just use forward, backward, and neutral. Like your car. In flow, we can hit the gas and go faster. We can hit the brakes and go slower. We can put the car in reverse. And we can find a moment of stillness and neutrality. Well, in detox, and you're pretty much in neutral the entire time. And so if your car is sitting on the top of a hill and you put it in neutral, and it's going to roll down the hill. And that's the idea. Let the car roll down the hill without putting your foot back on the brake. And even when it hurts, even when you feel a lot of discomfort or emotional discomfort, mental angst, any of it, remember you're a process. It's a process. And we want to flow with it. And keep the jaw soft. And we'll stay for another 10 breath cycles. And truly as slowly as you can. And start to bring your left foot back down. And notice the elevation, and all the sensations to your mind, especially if your eyes are closed. And then you can soften the grip and release your left leg all the way back down onto the mat. And rest your hands and see if it feels like you're on the boat and now it's tilting to the left. And no worries if you can't, but if you can start to feel that weight of energy moving around your body, that's a good sign. And that's saying there's probably a little bit more openness in through these channels or the meridian. And your awareness is becoming greater, which means you're doing a great job at dropping in. And some of the stress that maybe you were carrying in from the outside isn't holding on to you as tight as it once was. And let's make our legs back into the butterfly, soles of your feet together. It's nice sometimes in short order and to revisit posture and see how it feels now. Use your gauge as you reflect. Notice any differences from the first time you were in reclining butterfly, and let your arms release by your sides. And this next little bit is really good for circulation, everybody. So bring both knees back up slowly. And then we can just use our hands and turn your palms down. And lift your bum up. And put your hands underneath your low back and sacrum. And so you're sitting on the back of your hands. And once you get there, keep your hips heavy. And then you can let both legs come up towards the sky. And the hands create a slight tilt to the pelvis. And then adjust your head, neck, and shoulders if you need to. And you can keep the feet separated about hip width distance apart. And relax the toes. You can have a little bend to your knees. The legs don't have to be straight, but they should feel mostly like they're floating, and versus you holding them up in strength. And keep the hip flexors soft. And you notice if your breath is getting choppy or if your breaths are getting shorter. Stay relaxed in the natural breath, really long, drawn out exhales. And no rush when you're taking the air into your body. If your psoas and your hip flexors are on overdrive, possibility, and this isn't you controlling it, but it's something controlling it. You might really be feeling this, but stay with it. And so much that you can receive when you stay with the process, and then keep that door open to reflection at the same time. If your legs start to tremble a little bit, that's good, especially up by your thighs. About 10 more breaths here. You know what I didn't share with you was the transition out of this pose. And because that's how life is, there's no predisposition around all the transitions. And so now for the last 10 breaths, count down from 60 in your own mind. You're going to slowly start to let your legs come back down towards the ground. And just count down from 60 as you lower your legs. And when you get to 0, you can let your legs land and release into the mat. And 10. And when your legs land, slide your hands out and feel this beautiful release. And it might feel good to take a sigh And let yourself be completely still and open and to receive here. And feel the space, everyone. And we've got tonight. And let's bring some light movements back into your fingers, and back into your toes. And you can make that a little bit bigger. Roll out your wrists and roll out your ankles. And even bigger, take your arms over your head. Let's take a big stretch. Still might have your eyes closed. Bend your legs so that your feet are flat. Roll onto your right side. Come into the fetal position, please. Relax in the fetal position. Let your head relax your jaw. All right, use your left hand, bring it into the mat. And you roll yourself over, and so you come onto all fours, tabletop. And you can move around a little bit in your tabletop. And stick out your tongue if you want a lion's breath. Release your jaw. Bring your hands a little bit closer together and then step your left foot to the outside of your left hand. And once your left foot is forward, move your hips forward and back a couple times. And you may want to have your block, a blanket or pillows, up towards the front of your mat. And then let's turn your left toes out on a 45-degree angle and start to come down into a lizard lunge. So from your hands and down onto a block or stack of pillows or a blanket. And so you can move inside of your left hip crease. And then let your torso come down. And loosen the neck. Soften the chin. And so that's the first minute, everybody. Keep it chill, but come back up onto your hands. And stay with the lunge in your legs, and then your right hand stays. And curl your right heel in, reach back with your left hand, and grab onto your toes, your ankle, or your shin. And so left hand to your right foot. And you can stay up on your right hand, or and you're welcome to come back down onto your stack and to your right forearm. Don't worry about what it looks like. And let your head hang heavy. And keep the jaw soft, head heavy. Okay, that's minute 2, everybody. Okay, make your way back up on your right hand. And gently release your right foot from your left hand. And as your right leg releases, and take some of your stack away. And then come all the way down onto your forearms and down onto the mat. That space should be here for you. And let your head hang heavy. And relax any bite in the back of your jaw. And ease to all the muscles on your face. And here we go. As deep as you're willing to release and let the car roll down the hill. And stay down here where you are. Take 3 breaths and sigh the exhale out of your mouth. And still yet you may have your eyes closed at the end of this breath. And start to bring your hands back onto the mat. And as your hips come back, your left foot can come behind you. And make your way onto all fours. And set up for the feeling in a half child's pose, so your butt stays up. And come down onto your elbows. And then you can crawl your knees forward in inches. And stay on your forearms, and then let your hips go back towards your heels. Little half child's pose. And feel this. You notice which way the boat is leaning now. You can go ahead and slowly make your way back up to your hands. And we'll set up the other side. Your right foot comes outside your right hand. And your first set is your stack underneath your chest. And right toes turned out, left knee slides back. And you can stay on your hands or come down and forearms onto your stack. And right away, soften the chin, release the head down. And here's the deal. You never know how long or what those transitions are going to be in your life. But what you do know and what you're building confidence and for your mind to realize is that you're going to exist fully in the moments as they're happening. And from that practice, watch how much stress you release and how much stupid shit you no longer you maintain in your body and in your mind. And that's 1 minute, so make your way back up onto your hands. And keep your legs in the lunge. And set your left palm as you curl your left heel in. And then go ahead and reach back with your right hand. And you can look back at it and connect your fingertips into your toes, to your foot, and to your ankle. And then as you let your hips come forward, you should feel the in front of your left thigh stretching. And chin to chest, you can stay on your hand. Okay, you're also welcome to come back onto your stack and with your forearm. And And connection is connection. And see where that takes you deeper into yourself. And further away from things that maybe at one time you were really engaged with outside of yourself. But then realizing and you were just hanging on a thread. Every time you were engaged outside of yourself but not really rooted inside of yourself. So all of that is flipping in our perspective with our practice, moment by moment as we sit in this breath by breath. And this might feel like a pretty intimate practice tonight, and with what's being processed and what's coming up. But that key point in growth, or you growing, is in the reflection that is taking place. And the evolution as you continue to show up in this version of yourself. You're not holding on in angst into the past. You're no longer feeling in the fear or the shame of the past, the guilt of the past. And letting all of that be, knowing that it's been a beautiful ride that has brought you into this moment. And we wouldn't have it any other way. And that's the second minute, everybody. You can start to make your way back up to your left hand. And softly release your left foot from your right hand. And feel that let go. And then you can slide your stack out. And let's go all the way down, forearms to the ground. And soften your chin into your chest. And if you didn't make it all the way to the ground and you just reduced your stack a little bit, that's fine too. And take the bite out of the jaw. And release the tongue. And you may still well have your eyes closed. Stay with it. And start to make your way back up to your palms. And watch all the sensations as you slide your hips back. And then your right foot makes its way back, and so you're on all fours. You notice how you really don't have to see the guidance. And the instruction is right there for you. Come down onto your elbows and bring your knees forward a little bit. Half child's pose. And you can let your hips come back towards your heels. Probably about halfway. Let out a sigh. And keep the head heavy. Work your way back up onto your hands. And tabletop all fours. And you're welcome to slowly move your tabletop around. And hip side to side, little circles. Anything that feels good. Just go slow. And we're going to transition into a yin yogi squat from downward facing dog. So spread your fingers. And if you got your stack or your block, have it right along the right side of your mat and down towards the middle. And then curl your toes, lift your knees up, and press your hips back. Without moving your hands or feet, you can pedal out your down dog, bend one knee, bend the other knee. And then go ahead and start to walk your feet forward and your hands back to the middle of your mat. And once you get there, separate your feet and so they're mat width distance apart. And turn your big toes out and keep your heels where they are. And then start to bring your hips down so you're in a yogi squat. With little or less strength in your arms. And hands can stay on the ground. And if it's really tight and you want to put your stack underneath your bum and so that you can take a seat, and you're welcome to do that. If you're quite open and your bum is nearly down towards the ground, all good there. And first little bit, keep your hands on the ground, soften your chin into your chest. I'm having this visual right now of all of you working with your stack. If it's not a yoga block that is available and you're like, roll the pillow up sideways, try to stack another one on top, then it falls out. So be patient. And don't worry, we'll be here for a while, so you'll have plenty of opportunity and to feel this in your body. It's been with us all night. And the softening of your hip creases. And so if they're really nagging at you right now, go back with softness through your mind. Ease with your natural breath. And keep letting the car roll down the hill. And say you're already feeling this at a 6 or a 7 out of a 10. And stay where you are. The duration, the pose is gonna do you just fine. If you're not feeling it quite yet that much, you can always turn down your stack and sit a little bit deeper. And tongue soft, head heavy. And be with these sensations in your body. Because eventually it's going to be over. And here's exactly why we don't forecast the practice. I don't send you out the game plan. And why we don't forecast our lives. And because if I told you that this is where you're going to end up tonight, you probably would have never come to your mat to begin with. But because you arrive in this moment and you had no idea that you were going to be here, now your potential, now your mind, now everything about your being can expand and accept the moment for what it is. Versus you thinking that it was going to be good or it was going to be bad, and that you're going to like it or you're going to dislike it. And now you can just allow it and to be what it is and sit in the sensation and observe your breath. And you got nowhere else to be. And it's okay if you're struggling, the struggle is real. Sigh it out. Let it go through your breath. And if you got to make a noise sometimes and you got to scream, you got to let it out. And we're getting pretty darn deep into your thighs, into your hips tonight. And I guess one thing we know is that, and you certainly won't be walking the same after this practice tonight as you were before. Last 3 breaths in this shape. And to be honest with you, I have no idea how we're going to get out of this. And you just got to use your hands, perhaps grab and for the side edges of your mat. And lean forward enough and so that you can put some weight into your feet, and then start to lift your hips back up slowly. Use a little strength in your belly. Eventually letting your head fall and your legs go straight. And you can turn your toes in. Keep your feet pretty wide. And then dangle here, let out a sigh. That's good stuff. If you got a stack, take your right hand, pull your stack up to the front. You bring the weight over into your right foot, bend your left leg, come down onto your knee. And then bend your right leg, come down onto your knee. And check it out as we release into this beautiful rebound. And you're going to lie in prone position, which is letting your legs go straight. And come down onto your belly. And then release all the way down onto your chest. And belly Shavasana tonight. And take your arms into any shape. And turn either cheek onto your hands or onto your mat. And process and reflection. Because you are here, because you are an active participant in all of these moments and through the practice, you don't have to remember any of this. And the space has been expanded inside of you. And certain feelings have shifted. And with parts of your body, and your perspective has morphed into something else if you are so fortunate and to actually realize that you are a different version of yourself right now than you were before. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So, thank you all for the process, and thank you all for the courage that it takes, and to reflect on our lives as well. And to keep our minds open, and to keep our hearts expanding, and to feel the genuine connection that is taking place, and with your breath and your body and your mind and your spirit. If you didn't already fall asleep, you may just take a little bit longer and find yourself snoozing a bit here on your belly. If you wanted to roll over and lie onto your back and stay there for a while, you're welcome to do that. Thank you again for another beautiful practice this evening. And it's so nice to be with all of you, and can't wait to see you again tomorrow morning for our 10 a.m. flow. Be safe, everybody, and take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and reach out if you need anything. And have a beautiful night. Namaste.